Good morning. I'm Heather Schechter, the Director of Marketing and Business Development for Sunrise Management and Consulting. 2 years ago, many of us stood here together for a groundbreaking ceremony. At that time, this former school building was vacant with broken windows, flooding in the basement, and birds flying through the halls. More importantly, it was filled with memories of the old Draper School. We have been delighted to hear your stories of generations of families who went to the school, taught in the school. Draper alumni, would you please raise your hand if you're here today? Yay! Thank you so much for joining us. In March 2017, we reached out to the alumni community. We asked them to help us come up with names to honor community rooms and some of our floor plans that had names that were very significant to the community. Over 200 entries were submitted. Many of those were of former school administrators, teachers, and students. In the lobby, we have hung a word cloud with the names submitted, but 3 names really stood out: Famiano, Julia Bennington, and Garnet and Gray. As part of the ceremony, we wanted to dedicate rooms with those names, and we've invited a couple of former students to help us with the dedication. First, I'd like to invite Evan Christou, the Deputy Town Supervisor for the Town of Rotterdam, to tell us about why Famiano was significant for the fitness room. Come on up.
Thank you, Heather. This is very exciting, and on many, many levels. In 1969, my father took over Top Steiner from his brother, and we moved up here from Kingston, New York. And we lived in a small apartment on Girdland Avenue, and I can honestly say I was from that generation that walked to school in the snow, but not uphill each way. It's been exciting for me, both as a resident of town, and although I didn't graduate from Draper, I did attend Draper from the 2nd to the 7th grade. And as a member of the Rotterdam Town Board, as a member of the Schenectady County IDA, and as a resident of the town of Rotterdam, I've watched this amazing project progress in our town, and basically giving this beautiful building, which was built in the 1920s, a little bit of immortality. I'm very privileged to talk about the Famiano Fitness Room. I had opportunity this last week to communicate with both Frank Famiano and his sister Emcee. And before we get to Frank, let's talk a little bit about Emcee as well, who I was able to find on the internet a picture, because she was also an accomplished athlete. She was a world champion roller skater. And this is a picture of Emcee with David Golub when they were world champions in 1983 and 1984. Emcee sent me a little email and said, "Hi, Evan. Sorry the timing was not right for Frank to get to Schenectady for the ribbon cutting. What a wonderful event, and to see something positive in the community. Both Frank and I are thrilled in recognition of Frank's success and to have the fitness center be named with our last name. Very proud. We both love our alma mater and have many, many memories, friends, and a lot of remember whens. Enjoy the celebration. Thanks, Emcee." And of course, for everybody that's familiar with Frank Famiano, he also sent me a little note. "Evan, thanks for taking the time to contact me about the Draper Lofts." Frank's very humble, and in the body of the email, he said, "Well, I'll give you some talking points, but I really don't want to bore people, but this is far from boring." Frank graduated from Draper in 1979. He says, "I owe my start in sports success to my great coaches who helped me start. In high school, he was 3-time Section 2 champion with a record of 115 wins and 11 losses. He graduated SUNY Brockport in 1982, 4-time All-American, 2-time national champion, 2-time New York State champion. His international accomplishments include 15 years on the national wrestling team. He was a 5-time National Senior Open Greco-Roman champion, 3-time Olympic team alternate, a Pan American team member, 1984 Olympic team member, 5th place in the Olympic Games in Los Angeles, and he won over 1,000 matches in his career. And I think that it is with great pride that I show you the plaque that's going to go on the Famiano Fitness Room. And when Frank comes up in August, I'm hoping that him and his sister can take a day, and maybe I'll get a hold of Jesse and we'll give him a personal tour of where their alma mater is today. Thank you very much.
Next, I'd like to introduce Fran Pugliese. Oh, there he is. Fran is a Draper alumnus, and he was also a Draper teacher. And this is a very special day because it's his birthday. Happy birthday. He was here bright and early to help us, and we really appreciate it. And he's going to talk about 2 of the names that are also significant.
Okay.
Which is Garnet and Gray and the Julia Bennington Community Room.
As a teacher, I came prepared. And I did also walk back and forth to school. I grew up right next to Top Steiner. And I did walk uphill because Denver Avenue Hill was always there. So that was, before I start, I wanted to say something. We got together to name these things, these rooms. And Draper is about a community. So finding individuals, we really didn't want to do that. But when it came to this room and the fitness room, those 2 names just begged to be called that. But honestly, Draper is a community. You go to school somewhere, you start on the corner of Stanton and Draper in kindergarten, go in the kindergarten door, and then you graduate as a 6th grader, you come in the 6th grade door, down here at the corner of Earl and Draper, and then you come around to the Earl Street for junior high school, and remember that tree that was growing on the roof of it? You see that tree on the top? Well, anyway, that tree was always there on the ceiling of the school. And then we went down to Vischer Avenue, and we were high school people, and we graduated in the auditorium here, which is where we're standing right now. We're in the back of the auditorium. We graduated up there about 200 feet. Anyway, and I came prepared. I prepared something. I'm Fran Pugliese, you'll know that already. I graduated from Draper in 1971. In 1975, I returned to Draper to fill a 1-year maternity leave in the 1st grade. Upstairs in the corner room of the elementary wing, facing Draper Avenue, was Mrs. B. We call Mrs. Bennington Mrs. B affectionately. In fact, Mr. Goodwin's the one that gave her that name. Wasn't hard to figure out, the name began with a B. She was still there in 1975. Teaching 4th grade. The sound of music and children's voices still coming from her room. Mrs. B had a piano in her room and she used it to teach. Her metallic blue Valiant was parked on Stanton Street in front of the Smythe house. The Smythes later became my in-laws. My wife Helen graduated from Draper in 1974. Mrs. Bennington taught at Draper for over 50 years until it closed in 1987. President Ronald Reagan sent her a certificate honoring her for her over 50 years in teaching during his presidency. Mrs. B was always the first teacher here every morning and the last one to leave at the end of the day. She dedicated her life to her teaching and to her students. When I started teaching in 1975, Mrs. Bennington asked me if I enjoyed what I was doing. I told her I did, and she said to me, "Enjoy it every day and it'll never be work." It was never work to her. It is fitting that this community room bears her name, as Draper was always like a community and teaching was her life. The next room is the Garnet and Gray room. And I'm going to start by reciting the school alma mater. I know it, but just in case I forget. It's right here somewhere. Oh, I'm not going to sing it, guys. Believe me. Let's shout for dear old Draper High to prove that we are true. For all our faith and honesty, we pledge our love to you. Fight on for Draper ever, let others conquer never. For honor, loyalty, and fame will always go on with the name of Draper, our alma mater. Let not our footsteps falter, but lead us on to victory. For the Garnet and the Gray stand we. The garden and gray. If you were walking around Rotterdam and you had garden and gray on, you know where you went to school. In fact, the only other school in this area that has those colors, and they must have stolen it from us, was Waterville. So when we went there, it was confusing. Who's Waterville, who's Draper? But the garnet and gray, our uniforms were all garnet and gray. Later on, we put garnet and white, because gray got a little dim, I guess. The cheerleaders liked the white better than the gray, I think. But it was a place where you felt like you were home. Everyone knew everybody else. You know, a lot of schools these days, you know, the kids in your class are on your team, because now they have these teams. In Draper days, you knew the kids in the grades before you, the grades after you. The seniors were really something else. I don't care how short they were. You look like this at them, because that's what seniors were like. And they used to come down into our wing, because it was a K-12 building. We'd see them, and it was like, wow, the seniors are here, you know. And that's what made Draper special. We were all a family. It didn't make a difference what grade you were in. And the big guys looked after the little guys. There were no buses. We all walked. I don't know if you know the history or not, but up till 1959, Draper was it. You went to high school here if you lived in Rotterdam. In 59, Chalmont decided to form because they were tired of paying taxes for the buses they used. And same thing happened with Mohonasen, because the kids in those areas had to be bused in. So they formed, and real quick little story. Chalmont's name, you know, is Chalmont. It's Schenectady, Albany, Montgomery. Somebody entered a contest, and that's how they got Chalmont. And Mohonasen is the Indians, the Algonquin Indian tribe, Mohawks, Seneca, and Onondaga.
Mohawk and Onondaga Center.
Yeah, I got it backwards, okay. So they formed in 59, but before 59, this was the place you went to high school. So this was Draper, and it was a family, and we all loved it, and the garden and gray will always stand for all of us. And on a more personal note, I spent from 1958 until Draper closed in 1987 as a part of the Draper community and family. First as a student, making my way around the block from kindergarten to 12th grade. Then as a teacher, 1 year as a first grade teacher. That was an amazing year. The year I dressed as Dracula and scared all the kids. They thought I'd eaten Mr. Pugliese. I got to thank Mr. Goodwin and his wife, and Mr. Fusco and his wife. His wife was a first grade teacher in Niskuna. They actually babied me that first year, so I did okay because I was up here and the kids were down here. And they taught me how to teach first grade. Then 6 years as a sixth grade teacher, and then as a coach of the girls' basketball program for 10 years, and finally as the PTO president. Do you remember in 1987 we held the Draper Day here before Draper was closing, and we invited the alumni back. We had like a carnival out in the playground, and we had trophies and things people could look at and take away with them if they wanted to, some of the things. That was in 1987. We were looking back to celebrate Draper's 75 plus years. The original Draper School was where the veterinary place is there on Goodland Avenue. Burned down, and in 1912-13 they built this place. And then this part of the school was built after World War II, WPA, Franklin Roosevelt. The gym used to be where the cafeteria was. And then the new gym is where, that gym when it was built was one of the premier gyms in the area. I know I speak for all the Draper alumni and staff when I say thank you to everyone involved, especially Sunrise Management and Consulting and Metroplex, in revitalizing Draper and allowing it to be a vital part of the community once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fran, and again, happy birthday. I heard from many of you that before the conversion, it was sad to see this building as a vacant eyesore after so many years of it being a vibrant school community. You wrote in and posted that you were excited to have it filled with life again. We are pleased to tell you that it now is. We have 60 apartments with residents. We know that many of our residents couldn't get away from work to join us here today. But we were wondering, was anyone able to make it? Do we have any residents here today? Oh, thank you for joining us. Awesome. All right. So Sunrise is proud to be in the town of Rotterdam with a New York State Assembly member who lives in and represents this community. It is my privilege to introduce Assembly Member Angelo Santa Barbara.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for the invitation to speak today. Thank you everyone for joining us. We've got a pretty nice crowd here to celebrate this achievement here in our town. It's an exciting day. Let's hear it for the Draper Lofts Apartments. Yeah. As we heard, we're celebrating new life in this historic school building, and it's a stunning transformation. If you saw what it looked like before and what it looks like now, stunning is the word that I would use. And after years of hard work, this is something we talked about for years and years, to see this property redeveloped. It's exciting to see so many partners come together to make this investment happen here in our town of Rotterdam. So I also want to take this opportunity to thank Sunrise Management and Consulting for their incredible work. They did a great job here. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you. And as always, I know Ray Gillen is here. We cannot do these projects without Metroplex and Schenectady County. Thank you for your continued investment here in the town of Rotterdam. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Tony, who's here. This investment breathes new life into this historic school building, and it's great for me as a civil engineer to see properties like this not to be demolished but to actually be repurposed is something that's just music to my ears. And had I not grown up here and lived in this town, it would be hard to believe that this building is almost a century old. It's pretty amazing to see that this building is going to be used now for years and years to come. This vacant building, it was vacant for years and years, now it has become a vibrant living community. What does that mean? That means it marks another important step in achieving our goal here in the town and in the entire region of offering top-tier quality housing for residents, and certainly the town of Rotterdam is going to benefit from this project. As I said, for me as a civil engineer, I love seeing projects like this. It gives our community another modern housing option, but it also preserves a local landmark and a piece of history here in Rotterdam, as we just heard. Fran and Evan, thank you for sharing those stories. There's a lot of history here, and it's important that we look to preserve that and get creative with the projects that we do here in the town, and this project represents all of that. I love hearing about the community rooms, the meaning behind each of the names. It was just absolutely wonderful. It speaks to the developer. It speaks to the project involving the community, not leaving people out, actually taking their input and making it part of the project. That truly is something special. And today, our community coming together to reflect on Draper's history and its meaning, that is truly something special. So I'm very happy to be here. It's also very fitting that we're recognizing the Mohonasen Foundation for Excellence today. A vital organization, does so much to enrich education for students here in the community. Also the driving force behind the creation of the Draper School Memory Wall, a wonderful addition that's going to help keep the school's legacy alive. So inside and out, the community rooms, fitness, yoga, a courtyard, and so many other things that I read in the brochure. This is the perfect combination of past, present, and future, and will certainly be an asset to this town. And today, I'm very pleased to be here. I'm very proud to represent this area in the New York State Assembly, and I'm excited for today's ribbon cutting. So once again, let's hear it for the new Draper Lofts Apartments. Nice and big. Come on. And I do have to, I know we already recognized Fran, I do have to say happy birthday to my friend Fran, who is an important part of this community. Happy birthday again, Fran. Thank you for being here. And I'm very pleased today to present a citation recognizing this special day in our community. We hope that you will display it as a reminder of today's celebration. I'm also pleased to present a New York State flag to complement the flag of our great nation that will fly soon here over the Draper Lofts Apartments. And each time we see it, may it remind us of our exceptional good fortune to live in the United States of America. Thank you, God bless, and congratulations. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the support of Schenectady County and the Committee on Economic Development, who has advocated for the redevelopment of this site. I'd like to introduce Gary Hughes, the Schenectady County Majority Leader and Chairman of the Committee on Economic Development and Planning.
A school in a neighborhood is an asset to the neighborhood when it's a school. When it becomes an empty building, it becomes a liability in the neighborhood. And I say that at this point because I also want to acknowledge a number of my other legislative colleagues, especially legislator Holly Villano, who really led the charge on the legislature for a number of years to find a functional use for the old Draper School. We tried a number of things, as you know. We were successful with Ray's leadership and that of his staff, in attracting Jesse Holland and his team from Sunrise Management, who have invested $14 million in preserving the past and revitalizing this building and making it an important part of the bright future for this neighborhood and for the town of Rotterdam, and I believe we need to thank him for that. When this building went dark and was closed, the county stepped up to save it. The county took ownership of the structure, and the county IDA, which I chair, spent time and money to maintain it. We got some nicely painted boards and closed the windows in. We mowed the lawn. We tried to keep the place up. And just an anecdotal story, the crew that we had out mowing the lawn at one point, some of the neighbors and Draper alumni in the area came out and thanked them for their work and offered the crew lemonade. It was a hot day. But we knew the job was not just to stabilize this building. We knew that the job was to move forward from the status quo. We knew a closed school, especially a school as important as Draper, needed to be restored, was important to the neighborhood, important to the town. So we actively sought a buyer who would work with us to bring the building back. We had heard about Jesse's great work preserving and renovating a school in Averill Park and his success in managing thousands of apartments. So we met with him, and the result is here today in front of us all, this beautiful building that will be home to many, many people and will help to stabilize a vital town in Schenectady County. There are 111 apartments done in a way that preserves and protects all the history of the school. I know that Draper was called Home of Champions, and today we thank the county team, the town team, our Unified Economic Development team, and Jesse Holland for being champions on this project.
Thank you so much. Sunrise Management and Consulting has appreciated the ongoing support of the town of Rotterdam. I'd now like to introduce Steve Thomasone, the town supervisor.
You want to come up and do your presentation to Jesse before I give my remarks? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Diane Marco. I'm the town clerk in the town of Rotterdam, and I promised Jesse I'd be short and quick because of everyone speaking. I just wanted to give him a citation honoring the ribbon cutting today, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thanks for your attention. We heard from Mr. Christou, and honored also to serve with. There's a couple of other board members here. I'd like to recognize Joe Gittarelli, and Steve Signor is here today as well. And Diane Martin, our receiver of taxes, is here also. So thank you for being here today. This is a really important day. And first, I have to give a shout out to the county and to Ray Gillen from Metroplex for their dogged efforts and never giving up on us here and in other parts of our town where we're working together to bring more economic development and very importantly, not just places for people to live, but jobs as well. So I want to thank you both for all your efforts. You know, 2 years ago, the Daily Gazette began a news article with the following sentence. It said, "The long-suffering former Draper School has started a new chapter in a new life." And it wasn't just the Draper School that suffered. This entire neighborhood and our town as a whole was affected by its unfortunate decline and neglect. And you see that you heard some emotion here today. You see a lot of people here today because we all have some kind of memory of this place. And mine are very, very stark. And what I mean by that is like they're small. In other words, I went to kindergarten here, and my parents moved like 5 blocks away, and all of a sudden I was in Chalmont District. So while all my cousins, other Thomasones and other Thomasones that lived right here in the neighborhood on Draper, went to school here, I was in Chalmont, the same neighborhood. I lived right down the street from the Gittarelli family and others in the neighborhood, and we were Chalmont guys. And so, you know, you went to a football game or you went somewhere, you know, if you had family that was going to a school, you lived in the same neighborhood, it's like, geez, my loyalties are a little conflicted here, but it was fun. We had a lot of great memories of a lot of different people here. So while Draper and Mohonasen and Chalmont were all different school districts, people's families all went to those schools, you know, so everybody kind of knew everyone in town. So it wasn't like we were really in any way segregated just because we were in different school districts in some sense. But the origins, as we've heard, go back over 100 years in this building. The memories and the significance of this property to thousands of people made this project enormously important to everyone who has a connection to it. Whether you worked here or attended school here, Draper School, like your family's home, holds a special meaning to them. And like everyone who worked here or attended school here over the past century, every apartment in Draper Lofts is unique, and I think that's important to point out. You know, you go into one apartment here and you go, geez, I really like this one, and then they take you to another one and you go, geez, I kind of like this one. This one's different. And you go to another, this one's different too. I don't know if you have that happening here, but I would imagine that that kind of I guess I want to say from perspective of, having maybe a couple come in here and deciding, I like this one better than the other one. It's got to be tough for folks that are doing the leasing here. But today, the town of Rotterdam celebrates with Design Logic Architects and Sunrise Management with Mr. Butcher and Mr. Holland, respectively, and all who made this Draper Lofts a reality. You had how many people working here, how many people that were delivering product here, just everything. And now we have people living here, which is great for the neighborhood, great for the area. So on behalf of our town, I want to thank you for taking the risk in rehabilitating our beloved Draper School, and thank you for your investment. Most importantly, thanks for placing your faith in this project, which is going to mean great things for Rotterdam. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next, I'd like to introduce someone who has done so much for Schenectady County in finding and supporting developers who have found new uses for vacant properties. We are proud to have worked with Ray Gillen and the Metroplex team. Ray, would you please come up?
Thank you. Thank you, Heather. We have a couple of our great Metroplex board members here. Everybody knows Neil Golub. Neil, say hello. And Karen ZW, Karen Zalewski-Wilzunas, who's a member of the City Council in Schenectady, is on our board. We want to thank the Metroplex staff. We want to thank the county legislature because the county stepped up, took ownership of the building. The charter school didn't do a good job here. Everybody knows that. Everybody in the neighborhood knows that. And the county took the building through foreclosure, and the county ledge made this a priority. This didn't happen by accident. It happened because there was a dedication on the part of the county leadership and Metroplex and the town to get this to happen. So I want to thank all the county legislators that are here. This was not an easy project, but we got it done. I want to thank the town. We had a memorable meeting with Jesse and his team. We actually locked the doors at Town Hall and the town boardroom and said nobody's leaving here till we have a plan to get this project going. Evan was there. The town planning board members all showed up. The town planner, Peter Comenzo, was on vacation this week. And we really, haggled back and forth and sat down and got this project done and laid out a pathway. And these projects are not easy. You start ripping apart these old schools, and this one was in pretty tough shape. You find a lot of things and a lot of surprises. So there was a lot of activity on the part of the town. We always thank Assemblyman of Santa Barbara for all his help and his guidance and his leadership in Albany, help us get so many things done. Mostly I want to thank Jesse and his team. I don't really like hanging out with Jesse because I think I know a lot about real estate, but he knows more than I do. I hate to admit that. He is actually a national, He actually is like a national expert on apartments and real estate and construction, and he's quoted all over the country, and he lives right here in Niskayuna, and he's done a fantastic job with all the projects that he's been involved with. And I want to thank Jeff Senegal and his family who are here, who worked so closely with Jesse. I want to thank Bob Murray, who's here, who's a major investor in the project. I want to thank SEFCU. Ed will be talking in a few minutes. SEFCU stood up and provided the financing for this, as they had for so many projects in our county. You look at what's going on in the county. We just put 800 new jobs in the old Rotterdam Mall with the help of the town. Hamburg Street's getting done. This project's getting done. There's a lot of activity here in Rotterdam and throughout the county. We have a brand new waterfront attraction that is bringing thousands of people into our community. So, and it's because of what you're hearing today that everybody works together. Metroplex, our state representatives, the county, the town, working with the private sector to bring new jobs and investment to Schenectady County. So thank you, congratulations. Thanks for letting us be part of the team. Appreciate it.
In addition to the support of elected officials, a project needs the financial support of a bank, and especially the one with a vision to see the promise of an eyesore and that it can be turned into a thriving community. Throughout this process, we were grateful to have CEFCU at our side. 2 years ago, Ed Jennings, the bank's head of commercial lending, stood here with us, and he's here to join us again today. Ed, would you please say a few words?
Thanks. So I will keep this short and sweet, as I don't think anybody came here to hear from a banker this morning. I don't think that was everybody's goal. But in all honesty, I think you guys all know CEFCU as a financial institution. But being a financial institution for us is really just the engine that fuels our mission. And our mission is changing the lives in the communities we serve every day. And we feel that being involved in this project is a perfect example of that. Jesse and his team at Sunrise took a tired old structure and repositioned it into a new and vibrant multifamily building that we're all part of today. And by doing so, he's changed the community, the neighborhood, and the people who live and work within this area, all for the better. So to my promise, I will keep it short and sweet. And on behalf of myself, CEFCU, and our 900 employees from here to Buffalo, we're very proud and pleased to be part of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. The business community in the greater capital region thrives with the leadership of the Chamber. Mark Egan, would you please join us at the microphone?
Good morning, everybody. Terrific to be here. What a great celebration, and what a great way to start it off and sharing the memories. You know, you can imagine in my role, I'm fortunate to participate in lots of ribbon cuttings, but oftentimes it's for some shiny new project. And I can tell you, for me, projects like this really is what means a lot. Because when you have a developer and Jesse and his team, what they do to reclaim and to repurpose, to bring life and vibrancy and stability back into a neighborhood says a lot. And I want to thank Metroplex and CEFCU and all the partners that without their work, this project wouldn't come to reality. So on behalf of our chamber, we want to extend our thanks, our congratulations, and our every best wish.
Thank you, Mark. Before our final speakers come up and we cut the ribbon, I'd like to invite you to stay after the ribbon is cut. If you have memories of Draper to share, please consider participating in a fundraiser for the Mohonasen Foundation, an organization that promotes excellence in education in the Rotterdam Mohonasen Central School District. John, thank you for joining us on behalf of your foundation. Thanks so much. They have a table set up by the Draper Memory Wall on the garden level. Contribute $5 to their organization, take a marker, and leave your memory permanently on the wall, which was seal-coated over original paint. In the community room, we'll have refreshments available afterwards, and balloons mark apartments you can enter and tour. Jan Guido, Draper's fantastic property manager. Thank you, Jan. She's here to answer your questions about our apartments. We have a few two-bedroom apartments that are move-in ready and more apartments that are coming soon. Our final speakers are from the development team who had the vision to bring this project to completion. The team of Jim Mesko of JPM Contractors and Jesse Holland, the president and founder of Sunrise Management Consulting. Jim, would you please come up? Is he here? Yes.
Okay. Good morning. So I'll try to be the briefest of all. I'd like to thank all of our construction partners and our subcontractors. Without them, we certainly couldn't be here today. Our financial partners, CEFCU, Metroplex, the team at Sunrise, and all the officials at the town of Rotterdam, most particularly the building department, for their patience with us. As you can see from the vacant school pictures, this project was filled with challenges, and the JPM team is pleased to have been a part of returning Draper to a thriving and vital part of this community. Thank you.
Well, wherever you went to school, it was always my school,
right? It was never the school. And from 1913 to 1987, this was my school in Rotterdam. And we are so proud to be able to stay connected to that history, the community, and the rebirth of Draper Lofts. This has been a community project, and we've been able to engage alumni and the Mohonasen Foundation for Excellence, as well as having the support of Metroplex and the town of Rotterdam. And on behalf of town of Rotterdam, Steve, can you come on back up here? So there's a few people, huh? What? Got it, yeah, the check's not ready yet. More fees? No. So, Steve and Ray and politicians are always up in the limelight, and they're taking a leadership position, but behind them is a staff that most people never see. Jim has seen a lot of them, but Peter Camizzo, who's the town planner, and Mickey Mahar, and Dan Marciniak have been to this building almost more than I have, in the inspections that go on, the collaboration in trying to figure out how to solve different building problems, how to make sure that this building and all the buildings in Rotterdam stay safe for our residents and the community. So, being that this was a high school, we have varsity letters. So, on behalf of Draper, if you could send these to the building department.
I'd be happy to.
Give them their letters.
Absolutely.
And Ray, if I can have you come up, and all the speakers who representing different boards, let's get the ribbon up. We have your only Ray didn't do a lot with that. So So we have our sisters. You never lettered. You never lettered. This is for all of us geeks who never lettered. There were not letters for computer class. So we have our giant scissors, and where's Bob Butcher? You get on up here. You designed this puppy.
Come in front of the podium?
In the front of the podium? There you go.
Neil and Karen.
Nice to get here.
Everybody get in?
Get ready there.
All right. One second. You gotta get Neil in.
Just one up.
The Metroplex board gets it too.